All right, and welcome back. You are still right here with us on the hashtag Why in the Morning. My good name is Brian Sako, and as always, interact with us and let us know where you're watching us from. This is the last conversation of the day, and our guest that I'm about to introduce to you is no stranger to your screen. He first rose to stardom during the Anti-Finance Bill 2024 protest. He's garnered himself quite a chaotic following on social media, and his demure fashion sense can make you easily notice him during the protest. Ladies and gentlemen, it's Cosmo Makori. How are you?
Not bad. Thanks, Brian, for having me.
First of all, nice to meet you in person.
Nice to meet you, finally.
You know, I was working with this guy, and everybody's like, "Hi, Cosmo, hi, Cosmo," until I'm disappeared in the "Hi, Cosmo, hi, Cosmo." How do you handle people just saying hi, like whatever you're walking in public all the time?
Just say hi back, because ultimately, it's the people who make you known. It's the people who determine how you function in society, what role you play, and if they're saying hi, it means that there's something good that you're doing. And if you have the privilege of serving your people, they're going to give you love back. So for me, it's never been a problem, because it's always been a thing that's been happening to me throughout my campus days and whatnot. I always just say hi back. Yeah,
and that means you're famous, bruh.
Kind of. I like to believe so. Yes.
So I think the first constant question is your real name. Is it Samuel Makori or Cosmo Makori? Because there's people who say Kasamuel, you know, but maybe for the fun of it, yeah?
No, I mean, also because maybe the associative property, when you see a word, you want to relate it to something that's in your mind. So I think it's just patterns. And it looks like Kasamuel or whatever it is. But the name is Cosmo Makori. Actually, send them pesa. Send them pesa and see.
But because that means that, you know, a lot of people just remember you a lot since, you know, you first rose to stardom during the Anti-Finance Bill 2024, And of course, it started off a little bit dramatic. You know, a lot of people said you staged your abduction in Nini, and so many wahalas in there. But maybe you can clarify on it before we get to now know, where was Samuel Makori, Cosmo Makori born?
I think, as is with everything, people want to interrogate to the deepest depths what the true nature of the person is. And part of that usually comes with trolling and whatnot. And also, remember, we're living in an age of social media where people are just really vile. And so as long as you believe in whatever it is that you're doing, if you're doing it from a point of honesty, the people are going to see it. And I think so far, so good for me. So it's never been about the naysayers. It's never been about what people think. It's about what I think is true, what I want to be true to. That's what it is for me. So being authentic and being true to yourself. Absolutely. It clears all doubt. Yes.
All right, so where were you born? Let's get back to the question now.
I was born in Nairobi, in Mater Hospital, the 29th of October, 1997. And then I was raised here in Nairobi as well. We had a short stint in Umoja. But then my father lost his job. Then we moved to little workers' community in Karen, where the workers of the rich people used to live. There was a little commune over there in a tin shacked house. So we lived there, and then I went to primary school a little bit. Then we moved to Nakuru, and then post-election violence displaced us. So we moved to Eldama Raven. Then from Raven we went to Magadi, then to Kisumu. And so I've always just bounced around the country. Yes.
But more, when in Nairobi born?
I'm a Nairobi baby, to be fair.
And then there's also a question, there's one of the guys who was saying, you know, I think it was in one of the interviews you did, he was like, you know, this guy is not a Gen Z. You know,
I mean, also, you know, a lot of the times when people show up with those kinds of arguments, Brian, it's because they lack tangible issues to talk about. Because if we are, for example, to debate good governance, the only reason I will have to attack your personality or anything to do with you, which is called an ad hominem attack, is when I do not have issues to debate upon. And I think that's what it was. But also, you know, the man was drunk on live television, so I can't
forgive
that
part.
Man. I can't take an intoxicated man seriously.
Now let's get to know your education from the. What are the schools that you went to before, you know, you finally, because there's a part where you were at Miranda. Is it Alliance where you call Bush?
Actually, both.
And then Miranda and then Uni?
I started at a lovely, was it a daycare or a nursery school called Simba Hills, Simba Hills Daycare or whatever, it was in Umoja. Then we moved to, I didn't do pre-unit and things, we just went to class 1. Went to Our Lady of Peace, Guilty Trust, Pale, Karen Shopping Center. There's like a small Catholic school down there. Then after that, we moved to Nakuru. Then I went to St. John's Primary School in Nakuru. And from St. John's, we were displaced for post-election. I went temporarily.
2007?
Yes, that's 2007, yes.
Okay.
Then I moved to a little school in Rongo called Emma Hills for maybe 2 weeks. Then I also did a short stint at Maxwell Academy somewhere here in town. Then now after Rongo, I went to Magadi Primary. Then
this is Magadi Primary, that is 5th, 7th, or
no,
8th?
that's class 6.
Six
and
almost.
I did maybe class 6 only in Magadi Primary. Then class 7 and 8, I did an interview for Carroll Academy in Nakuru, and I got accepted, and that's where I started my KCP. Then I was called to the Alliance High School. Then I did Form 1 to Form 4 first time in Alliance High School. Then I went to
Did you qualify to join Alliance with your primary school grade?
Yes. No, I was one of those kids who were in the newspaper.
Okay.
So I'm not dumb necessarily. Yeah.
You and dumb do not exist in one
We
sentence.
might in certain respects,
Okay.
but I'm not
that,
particularly dumb. Yeah.
Yes. So you qualified, and then
Yes,
you
then
began
went to the Alliance
Form
High
1
School,
and Form 2.
that was it was rough and rocky because there's teenage, there's childhood trauma that I had to deal with. There's bullying and a lot of stuff. But then,
why was the bullying happening though?
so the bullying started in primary school, but then also now in high school, I think it was just the full manifestation of it, and it's a very complicated topic where you find in boys' schools there's all sorts of things. There's spirituality, there's sexual assaults, there's a lot of these silent evils that people do not talk about. So after Alliance High School, I had a very rocky stint at Alliance because I went on a couple of suspensions and whatnot. Also, just trying to find yourself as a teenager.
Was it because of bad behavior?
Of course, but also just teenage curiosity, just wanting to impress girls or whatever.
But the also, neighboring girls, the neighboring high school,
school, Alliance girls. And it was such a beautiful experience, but also just the search for your place in society, in the sense that when you're in high school is when you're starting to figure out what beauty standards are. I was short, I was dark, I wasn't what is conventionally attractive. And hormones are high, you're trying to be as cool as the next cool person. So in those things...
Were you expressive?
Absolutely, very, very expressive. And so this one time when now I think I lost my... myself completely in terms of just physical identity. This girl just told me I'm a black ugly thing, and I was like, oh, I'm so heartbroken. So I decided that's when now I turned to music and swimming and sports. So I ensured I did...
Still at Alliance?
Still at Alliance, yes.
Okay.
That's when
this is now in Form 1, still Form 2?
Form 1, because remember I'm at Alliance till Form 4 first time. Yeah, so Alliance pretty much my high school life. And so that's where I get into these extracurricular activities, the sports and whatnot, just to go for functions, and then I become popular, and I'm like, oh yeah, then... Finally, it hits you that popularity means nothing. The kind of human being you are is what matters the most. So you could be the most popular person, but if you're not kind to your neighbor, if you're not relatable, if a person cannot come to you truly with their needs and feel as though they can confide in you, then your popularity is for nothing. So then that permeated into it, and then now I had an indefinite suspension from the Alliance High School.
Because of what?
That was like schools had this thing where they have a crackdown. There's a time when people are going to go for suspensions, and that's usually maybe last term or first term towards the end. When there's usually a bunch of functions like sports, when you go to the nationals, kids tend to misbehave, so people are found with drugs and whatnot.
So you did something that landed your suspension?
Yeah, it was a couple of things, but also the teacher was just he was always out. I was a marked student. I was one of those kids who are called Warui and whatnot.
Okay.
Yeah, so after that. And then I went to Miranda High School.
So maybe we can process first.
Right.
You were suspended, your parents' reaction, and then the decision for you to move to Miranda.
Yeah, so
maybe
I think after that suspension, I felt, it's the first time I felt very disappointed in myself.
Okay.
Because it was a battle of curiosity always to try and outdo myself in whatever it is that I was doing.
Did you want to be seen, heard?
Of course. It's one of those things. It was. I think if I look back, it was a child crying for attention, but nobody cared to give it. So that's what I was trying to just ask for, some sort of help mentally, because this is not a thing that I've shied from talking about, my mental health journey. Okay. But so I remember I just called my folks. I called my dad, because my dad is a very strict academician. is my favorite teacher. So in terms of the technical subjects like the sciences and arithmetic, that's my dad. But in terms of languages, fluency of speaking and music and the arts, that's my mom. So I felt they're coming together in their education. When it culminated into me getting to the Alliance High School. When I got expelled, that was very, I think it was a shocking experience even for me, because one, it was very embarrassing.
How did mom process it?
And I just told them, I said, I've been kicked out of the school. They've told me to go on an indefinite suspension, and you need to come and take me, put me in the school cell and whatnot. And they were very disappointed. It was heartbroken for them. It was heartbreaking for them. But that's just what it is.
So settling on the decision to take you to Miranda.
So that was also a couple of decisions, because, you don't just move from one school to the other. First, trying to transport the box back home, it got stolen. Then we were like, oh, maybe that's a sign that you need to have a good first beginning. But in my head, I'm like, oh, my love letters are gone, my souvenir jerseys, because, we used to trade ties. You give a chick a tie and they give you a sweater, those kinds of things.
Infatuation.
Man. Those things, I'd be posting those things right now. And I was such a lover boy in high school. I used to write the best letters.
You're still a lover boy.
I'm such a great letter writer, to be fair. The speech
descriptive and the adjectives.
The speech comes nothing to my letter writing. And I feel like letter writing is an art that's lost. So my parents tried to get schools. We tried several schools. And then one day my dad just went to Miranda High School. And I remember he was very broke and sort of frustrated. And he just walked into the school and talked to the administration. Also, the good thing is I wasn't doing too badly academically. At least up until where we were doing, I was like an above average student by the time I was being admitted to Miranda High School. So I got in, and that was that. I got in and it worked.
So there's a place where you mentioned you are trying to look for attention. But then here you are, you have a present father, present mother. Why weren't they not giving you the attention you deserved as a child? And maybe how many siblings? Are you the only child in between, or you have sisters?
No, I have siblings. I have 4 siblings.
You're the firstborn?
No, I'm second born. But it's not that my parents didn't give me attention. It's just because they did their best. Remember, if you have 5 children and you have to provide for them and whatnot, they actually just did their job. It's just the same way, for example, we go for work. It's not because our parents did not provide for us, but it gets to a certain point in time where you need more. And I just think I consistently received the shorter end of the stick. I consistently received criticism, and I was being told, tone down, you're too jumpy, you're too playful, you're too mischievous. That was even just from socially, from everyone, but my parents. My parents just accepted me as I was. So they did a rather great job. It's just, those are social forces. That's not on parenting, Mostly I blame it on the teachers, because, teachers are supposed to be custodians of the students, ensuring that these people, they live peaceably, they have like holistic development.
And that's your formative years as a child.
Yes. But teachers tend to play favorites. So for me, what helped me is that I was sort of book smart. So I was always being the first in class, second if worst. So that kind of helped me to stay on the map.
Now you joined uni finally.
So uni was funny because I was supposed to go and study the law, but one of my high school best friends told me, hey, listen, we've seen your passion for music and whatnot. He wouldn't advise me to study the law. Again, I had a very vain reason for wanting to study the law. I wanted to go to a certain university on Thika Road, and I thought that the law school was there. But then once I finished high school, I realized that all law schools are actually in Parklands. So I was like, I don't want to study in Parklands. And so with that whole thing, and also to be fair, I wasn't disciplined enough. Right now, maybe I could study, and I usually say that
you could still take a chance.
If I were to study, then I would study a degree now, because I'm more settled. I have a better understanding. I'm more interested in reading now, and I've experienced what life was. But I went and studied finance at the Technical University of Kenya. Finance is a really, really easy course. It's lovable. It allowed me to also pursue my music and my performance, my composition, and student leadership and all those kinds of things.
And you become vocal now about social justice issues.
Absolutely. Absolutely, because that starts there when we're doing mental health things, when we're doing sexual health and reproductive health and rights, when we're doing marches against gender-based violence, when we're doing, we did quite a couple of things. When there's also like this one time when we were trying to bridge the gap between industry and academia. It's the first time I saw how alienated and disenfranchised students are, because the World Bank donates $100 million for bridging the gap between industry and academia.
Yeah.
You would think that university students would fill the room, but maybe by the end of the whole program, it was just me at the lunch at some hotel, and all we got was just bread and butternut soup.
Yeah.
So that's when now I became awake to the fact that, hey man, as a young person, you really do not have yours in this country.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. So did you ever apply for a scholarship in between?
I didn't apply for a scholarship necessarily, but I did leadership programs. Like I did Young African Leaders Initiative. That was I'm in the 23rd cohort, and back then you still used to do a month-long program at the Regional Leadership Center.
Yes.
On Pale KU. Then I also did. I did a couple of those in uni, but those are the ones. Yali is the one that jumps at me the most. I also did quite a bit of social work and community work. Yeah. And then after Yali, then now that's when I get into student leadership. That's when I vied once and failed because I was very naive. I didn't know how politics worked. But then the second time I vied, I won the election.
Right.
Then after that, I just
and it's sealed and stamped everything.
Absolutely.
Yes. Then left uni. Now you're outside. Yeah.
Yes.
So before the finance bill and everything, towards of course after the election, are there things that you noticed that maybe built the enthusiasm and the energy? And then now, when the finance bill happened, you're like, you know what? This is the time for me to launch my takeoff.
Right. I didn't necessarily use the finance bill protest to launch my takeoff because that was rather unexpected for me. I didn't go into the protests as a thing that I had planned, because I've been a serial protester. Because remember, we're the guys who marched, who hosted demonstrations for anti-lockdown. So I was always protesting, and I believe if it's for a cause for Kenya, you have to protest, you have to march, you have to engage in civil disobedience. Yeah. But so after uni, after the election in 2022, I remember saying, I now will go into active politics. And I had I'd formed a little page for my political thing, and I just made the commitment there. I said, this is a digital commitment that I'm going to be on the ballot in like whatever. I want to toss myself into elective politics because I was just sick and tired of the kind of clowns we elect into office. And we're always just talking about it. I was sick and tired of the people who call themselves good men not participating in elective politics and spending their whole time whining about bad leaders, not learning about political processes, not sharing the ideologies with the people to see that this is what a better Kenya would look like. So I was like, I will get into the arena and I will do the thing. I also did a really interesting program. I had a fellowship that I did that was sponsored by Beyonce. Yeah, Be Good, by Beyonce and Tyler Perry. So that program was also in partnership with Global Citizen. And so as an organization, that was very eye-opening for me because it was a year long. It was 5 fellows from Nigeria, 5 fellows from Kenya, 5 fellows from South Africa. And then at our graduation, we flew down to Johannesburg and spent some time in Sandton. It was beautiful. But now seeing how the moguls work, how people treat what family is and what business is, and how those organizations work, really opened up my mind. Right. So I'm also grateful to Mrs. Carter. I remember I was supposed to go and give an address for their 10th anniversary. Visa application. So now I start getting aware of these issues. We used to know about them.
You mean you didn't?
I didn't go.
Get there because of a visa?
Yes, I didn't go.
Issue?
And everyone gets really mad when they hear this that's the other thing which I learned as a young person. Talk about the opportunities that come to you, because everybody I told that I was going to speak at Beyonce's function as the keynote speaker. I was not just going to attend. I was booked into the Marriott at Beverly Hills, and it was everything paid. They just needed a visa. Every person that I talked to was like, why didn't you talk to us? We would have expedited the visa.
What happened at the immigration though?
So I'd applied as a regular human being, and they had written a letter in effect, but then the coordination was not too good. And I was also too afraid. I didn't want to jinx it. I didn't want to tell people that I'd be going to the States and then not have gone. Right. So then I saw that. I was like, talk about your opportunities. If you're a young person and you have an opportunity and you feel like you're stuck, talk about it. There are people who have solutions to your problems. So after that, I did a fellowship, and I was teaching in the most prestigious schools in the country as a musician, setting up orchestras and whatnot. Then I had a burnout, and then I just lie low. So what I was
took a hiatus?
I beg your pardon?
Did you take a hiatus?
Yes. I didn't. It was a forced hiatus because I crashed mentally and I had to be admitted to hospital and whatnot. But then after that, I just went back to doing I had a little TikTok page that had maybe 20,000 followers and whatnot.
Yeah. And people didn't know you as widely, as insane as
Yes,
they know you
I was
now.
a very niche creator. So what I was doing was my music videos and some political thought. And by politics, I don't necessarily mean whatever it is on the governance aspect. It was mostly around social dynamics and sociology and those kinds of things. Yeah, then during the finance bill, I'm looking for the protest and I'm walking around. I'm busy looking for the Maandamano. And I sit down, open my phone. I'm in the New York Times, I'm in BBC, and I'm like, when did this happen?
Yeah, this was during the 25th June? Or
No, this is way before. Because remember, we had a protest. Was it on the 16th? We had one, and then
because the 25th one was like the prime.
Then now by then I had already blown up. There's a friend of mine called Emma Chiruto. Emma Chiruto has this behavior where she finds me doing the most random things on the streets. Any demonstration we've attended, Emma Chiruto takes the funniest videos of me. So she took this video.
She's a musician.
Yes, she's a musician, an absolute musician. I absolutely love working with her. I play with her sometimes. And I had a canister in my pocket, and she was like, "Kaz, what?" And then that video goes viral, and then
on TikTok.
Yeah, that on TikTok and on Twitter, that plunges me into like a bit of notoriety and whatnot. But then from there, I was like, yeah, because the people now have seen and they're talking, and there's a bit of authority that I have. I was like, then you push this good governance agenda, you push it to the very end. There are people who detracted, there are people who trolled me online and whatnot.
But it's because of an incident, though, because between 16th of June and July, it's like you disappeared and you said you were abducted, right?
Yes.
Were you truly abducted?
Yes, but I think when we reduce this these conversations to the people said this, the people said that, is it not enough that my word should count? Yeah, I mean,
but again, you should also say the truth, bruh.
Yes, but again, I would ask that, so what is the truth? Because someone comes and says... The truth is,
hey, I'm Caswell, I was abducted, and deal with it. You said that?
Consistently.
On social media?
I've always said it. I said it and people are like... Oh,
but why did it look cosmetic and orchestrated?
No, because also remember, there was two incidences. There was also an incident where I had an altercation with a doctor, and so the trolling continued and whatnot. I think when it comes to such matters, nobody came and said, hey, listen, this was it. I even saw stories that, I was in Gara in a place called Joyland, apartment D4, and my girlfriend. I was like, yeah, bring me that girlfriend and you can keep the house. Because people are going to spin stories. Remember, people are in a propaganda war. We're in a place where the person who reports the first, the vilest, the most emotionally charged message, that's the person that gets the airtime. So for me, it was a big deal when it started. It was heartbreaking. I was like, I want to step away from this thing and And I sat down and asked myself, for what?
Yeah, but also the question is, where were you detained and who are these people that detained you and when did they release you?
And the government also has refused to answer that question. And that's why I'm just like, what like everyone, to what end do these things go? Yeah, because then now you see this cheapens the whole thing which we're doing, because there's people who've been through these things and you've just been seeing everyone just saying now all these things were fake, all these things were fake, all these things were whatnot. But at the end of the day, reducing the conversations to incidences or people takes away from the movement. But I really don't have a problem.
They've been very conspicuous. People have been walking in the street. You see a Mercedes or a Subaru, they disappear, and then But anyways, let's move past that.
With regards to what's happening, I can only account for my actions. I cannot account for the actions of the others, and that's why I think I've always been very clear in my mind that as long as it's a thing that I have done, I can account for. The rest, I don't care what people think, what people say. As long as I was in charge, then I can account. I will say, here, I was in Maandamano, I was here, this is what, up until the point where I'm in charge. Beyond the point where I'm in charge, let's all speculate.
And now you become some sort of like a face, the face of the protests and everything that has culminated up to where you are today. Do you believe you're the first, or you're just among the strong voices that have been consistent and very conspicuous in advocating for justice? And then the fearlessness as well that you exhibit during some of the platforms you've been on, it's really remarkable to say.
Asante, I'm just one of the many faces. It's just, the thing has so many faces, and especially from where I sit, when I see it, I'm with 100 comrades.
Uh-huh.
All these people are the faces of the thing. So for me, it's not as simple, because people try and narrow it down to one person, try and narrow it down to one individual. And I've always been
Because
saying
there are not as many, it's evident anyways.
no, there are actually very many people. It's just that those people don't get the airtime.
Yeah. Is it because they don't come to TV to talk as loud as you talk?
Maybe,
or they don't,
maybe it could be, but not everybody has to come on TV.
Right.
If this is my stronghold, then I do the media things.
Yes.
The people who are such great mobilizers on the ground, the people who are who are bringing us water, the people who are
Colgate.
Those kinds of things, like those kinds of people.
Yes.
And the work that we're doing is equally as important. I cannot say that I'm a better strategist than them. I cannot say that I have like a better acumen. I can't account for what this is, but if it's befallen me, then that's what it is, and I will just take it and run.
Take it, yeah.
So that's how I see it. I see it a bit differently from a person who's seeing it from inside, because from within the movement, for the first maybe 2 or 3 weeks, I was doing it alone. I would get into the streets, and then people would form a crowd around me.
Were you scared at some point?
I've always been
so
scared.
uncertain what could happen to me?
Scared about everything. Even the day I was disappeared.
Yes.
I was coming from a suicidal episode that previous Friday. So on Tuesday, we do demonstrations as first week, second week, Tuesday, and I'm disappeared. I was just like, these people are going to kill me,
you.
and then say that the man was suicidal and was found in a thing. Just the way you've seen. A lot of these cases of the young people who are showing up, they're being booked as suicide cases after being tortured and thrown into swamps and whatnot. But so what I said, and that's why I've always gone for all mass actions and protests and whatnot, is because those people's blood cannot be in vain. And that's why I also get really mad or pressed when we step away from the issues and whatnot, because then we cheapen the blood of the people who we lost. We become no different from the politicians who, have been dancing on their graves and using their blood to sign work deals. But from where I sit, there's this thing has a collective face. Because remember, right now I'm not even acting on my own behalf.
You're now in a group? Or
yes, I'm part of a collective that has over 50 organizations.
Okay.
It has people's assemblies, it has social justice centers, it has political parties. And so that's what we submit ourselves to.
Yes.
So when you speak for the collective, you speak the language of the collective. You don't just speak from wild ideas and whatnot. And I think that helps insulate yourself, because then we have an organization, we have a political vehicle that can be used, because we are organizing to take political power, because that's what the exercise. This is a political exercise.
And who are the people in that?
There's so many organizations. There are social justice centers. There are political parties.
Like the likes of Amnesty as well. Is it on board?
No. Those are. I'm talking about local organizations. I'm talking about like community changers. I'm talking about like the people's assemblies in various towns, and it's countrywide. So there's a lot we look forward to it, because we're going to launch it officially to the public. And
like some sort of like a party?
No, it's not a party. It's a coalition. It's a coalition where when as a part of us, you don't lose your identity. The whole goal is every Democrat, every patriot is a part of us. Everyone who thinks bad governance is bad, everyone who thinks corruption is bad, everyone who thinks that we need accountability in government is allowed to come there. We reduce the differences, the things that make us different, because remember, there are leftist organizations. There are some who are to the far left. There's more some who are centralists, and those centrists and those kinds of things. So we're saying,
why can't you make it just a party and register it and eventually launch it?
Because there are parties as well within. So why would those parties lose their individual identity? They don't need to. We don't need to form one thing.
Okay.
We could just come and work.
What is the danger of it, though, forming a party?
There are ideological differences. So there are people who, for example, could be social democrats.
Okay.
There are people who could be socialists. There are people who could be communists. These people, they vary very differently in terms of ideology. So because now we will start and say, so what is the one ideology? Because if you're far left and some people are centrist, then we waste a lot of time.
But you agree to disagree.
Pardon?
You agree to disagree, and then finally you unite and become one voice.
Yes, that's what the coalition is.
Okay.
So that's the agreement. So you're like, keep your individual voices. Do not stop the good work that you're doing at community level. Okay. Keep driving that. But then now we coalesce up here into a coalition, and then we take care of the interests of each other. Because a lot of the people, if you're going to be honest, during this protest, there are people who made money and made it look as though they were making, they were bringing the money to the collective, but they were not. That also insulates you, because then you're answerable to a collective. So when they see me with politician X or with who, then I have to answer and say, what was this about? So that insulates the collective from someone using their name for private gain, which is also how we got up with
but
the issue
it's
of
also
audience
vulnerable. The movement, such a movement is also vulnerable to infiltration. Anyone can come up. You've seen, I don't know, Morara Kebaso, you've met him?
Right. I haven't yet met him, but I'm
you've seen his works,
yes, yes.
He's literally taking over from you, you know?
It's not taking over, because we are fixing the country. We're making, everyone is doing their part. It's not a thing.
Oh, it's not about Kasmuel and Masiterus.
No.
It's everybody's work.
I was not, trust me, even if I stop doing political activism, I'm still going to be good in my life. I would still be very great, because I'm one of the country's greatest musicians. And I'm not shy to say this. I'm one of the country's greatest composers. I could pursue all these things. So a lot of the times when we reduce these conversations to person X has come up, why not? Can you imagine if we had 100 such people in the country?
Right.
We had a guy who's injecting in the media, like, it's a healthy rotation. Healthy rotation of people. So no one is taking over from anyone, because again, you can only be one position. You can only be a president. So what happens to the MPs? What happens to the line of MCAs? So everyone, we are organizing to take political power. And this is,
do you believe you'll finally hack it?
We are hacking it.
Or we've already hacked it, in fact?
We are in the process of hacking it. But so far, even in the hearts of the people, because remember, a revolution is not a popularity contest.
Right.
It's not a contest, rather. It's not a popularity contest. It's not about who has better ratings. We are actually striving to change the future of the country. And visibility is not liberation. Just because people because people have seen you, or it does not mean that people are still not being killed by the police. It does not mean that corruption has suddenly disappeared. So that's the work that we are doing. And a lot of the time, we usually cheapen the conversations and make them look as though they are, that they ought to revolve around individual X and Y. I think we could, if we had a more holistic perspective of the issues, we will achieve better results.
Do you think that's what revolves around now in the other government agencies? Personal, forms of what you just said.
Yeah, of course, the cultic personality following, but it's natural of humans. If you have the charisma and you put in the work, then the people are going to listen to you, and that's why we're saying, you get in and you put in the work. You don't sleep on it. It's not easy, because you have to convince these people. The person who's president right now did a lot of convincing and conniving, and whatever he did whatever he had to do for him to become president. That's what we're saying. If we are dissatisfied with this system, we change the whole system. That's what we meant by saying Ruto must go. We are changing the entire system. But also, if the change does not come through a popular insurrection, then it has to come by a ballot revolution. And you have to, because if we don't have a bullet revolution, we need to have a ballot revolution. And for us to get a ballot revolution, we have to do the work. We have to get on top of the cars. We have to do the exposés. We have to do the groundwork. You have to go and interact with the people and tell them this is what we believe Kenya should look like.
And what are the things you want clear? Because I understand on 27th, there's an impending, a looming mass protest that you've been vocal about. I saw you post about it yesterday.
Not yet. I have not posted about the 27th yet, because...
what did you share yesterday?
No, yesterday was, we intend to have a prayer day at...
oh, that's the prayer day.
Yes. We intend to hold some prayers at the immigration's office. Because we have certain citizens who are going out of the country. We want them to go safely with paperwork, but we also are praying for IDs for our siblings who are in campus.
But there's Maisha card and, the other IDs.
That's what
you said you don't want anything to do with Maisha card.
Yes,
you want the normal IDs.
Yeah, that's why we are not going to protest at Huduma House. We're going to pray. So yeah, we're going to petition, we'll be singing. And so we will not notify the police, because I think we want to, as a praying country, we have to pray for things to go right. So I think, because as protesters, we've seen that we will lose blood and whatnot. And so we want to take a more peaceful approach. So we will be praying. People are encouraged to carry handkerchiefs, because we might be crying in vulnerability. Carry bottles of water, because we need to be nourished, not only physically but also spiritually. But also during the praise and worship, you will need to carry whistles, so that you're able to articulate your praise to the highest form of adoration. So that's what we are doing. I'm no longer protesting, but we are taking the prayerful approach. We're also encouraged to wear shoes that will allow you to dance the way David danced.
Right.
Yeah, so carry everything. Come ready for an invigorating prayer day, which we shall announce.
Will you be the lead pastor at the event?
No. I'll just be one of the worship ministers for praise and worship.
Okay.
Because this is a devolved church. It is
right.
It only submits to the highest power. So there will be various visiting ministers, and everyone who has a presentation is welcome to come. You can also carry placards that show the miracles that have been performed to you.
Okay. Yeah. There's somebody asking here, what is your view on the new cabinet? Do you believe it's a new cabinet?
We don't have a cabinet in this country. Okay. We have a bunch of, we have a boys club of rich people who have sat down to unite their interests.
Okay.
They happen to call themselves
Would you vie if you, for example, let me create organically, governor for Nairobi. Would you vie if you had a chance in 2027?
I will vie for something in 2027.
You're not just sure.
Yeah, I'm not yet sure.
Or you're not clear.
No. I'm not yet sure how best I can be of impact. And the only way you know, because it's one thing to have ideas in your head, but it's another thing to know what the ground says. So we will do the necessary groundwork, and then we'll see this is where there's a void. And then we'll say, you go and vie here, you go and vie here, as a collective, because remember now I'm a part of a collective. Don't just act out of rogue interests.
Yeah, have there been death threats, people texting you things, especially from the high?
Absolutely. There's a day I was at an interview and I received a life threat, and I had to run away from Nairobi. Okay. So these are things that happens, but
do you believe it's a politician or somebody from government who sent that?
It's the state. It's the state, because even the police asked me. So at the moment I said that, they didn't even ask me. They asked, is it a state? So I know that these are things, but also some comrades, when we were organizing people's assemblies, have been harassed by DCI. They've been threatened by area chiefs. You know, so that's a collective conscience that we're trying to change from our people.
Our time is up, but I want to fix in some 1, 2, 3s.
Right.
So this one is personal. We are playing a game called I Am and When. So I am at peace when, so just complete. When are you at peace?
Okay, so you start now. Has the game started?
Yes, I'm at peace when?
Staring into my girlfriend's eyes or playing piano.
Oh, okay. I am angry when?
Ruto is still the president.
Ciao. You can easily catch my attention when?
You turn on the cameras. And you let me say Ruto must go.
I experienced life-changing events when?
I go for protests and organize prayer meetings to help Kenyans get IDs.
I can easily lose interest when?
Ruto refuses to leave office.
I hate it when?
Police kill innocent Kenyans and Ruto is still president.
I'm emotionally triggered when?
I see Ruto speaking on TV and lying about launching projects.
Okay. And lastly, for the ladies, I can date you when?
When my girlfriend says so.
For real, Cosmo. Somebody's asking here, they saw you running, and you know, there was a meme that said, instead of you running for Kenya, you would have been deployed to Paris to run on behalf of Omanyala. Did you see that? Did you notice that meme?
I did, but that's why I'm also in media stations running my mouth.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Man, it's been great talking to you, bro.
Awesome, Brian.
I feel like we should continue this conversation.
You know, yeah.
So please, if you see my call, don't press the plug.
No, for sure, I get it.
All right, so do you even need following anymore? Because it's like you're a syndicated personality right now.
If you want, just follow me, look for me, or
at _ Kaskazini.
Pseudo accounts, whatever.
Yeah. Do you have a word, like just a line for the Gen Zs as we exit here?
Don't stop believing. The change is here. There are decades when nothing happens.
Okay.
There are days when decades happen. We're living in the days when decades happen, so do not lose the faith.
All right.
Yes.
And that's what's up. Thank you so much. I appreciate you once again.
Asante,
and nice to meet you in person.
Yes, finally.
All right. All right. So we also say thank you so much for watching us from exactly 7 a.m. to 10 a.m. On behalf of Stephanie and everybody else behind the scenes, we say thank you so much. My good name is Brian Sako. I'll definitely see you tomorrow bright and early right here.